around this one, but they're just trying to turn the damage back onto Mickey. The Ignite ticking on Mickey, and he'll fall first. Pace takes him.
Likely to retreat here. There is 6 on Broken Blade. Will he look for the flash?
But hook on Pace as well, down towards the bottom side. Flashing forward, he has red and white, and he wants to fight. Another hook brings them back. Haze and Delight are putting on a show. Hook goes wide on the top side as well, but yike, the Moonlight Mitchell, look out for Pace! Caps looking for the Tibbers. Delight finds the hook once again. And how delicious it is for Gen.G to clean up G2, as G2 are just demolished by Gen.G.
Welcome back, everyone, to MSI after the fastest game of the tournament so far. And I think Score's face in that video said it all. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that was just the beginning.
Yeah.
That was at the start of it. It got way worse.
We're at match point already. What are we going to do for dinner? Brunch,
Lunch?
basically.
Yeah, it's a little early to start planning that.
No, we're going to not go that fast because it isn't over yet, but I do want to take the road of kind of highlighting how good Gen.G has been in these first 2 games.
It just blows my mind, right? Like, I've been following this guy for like a year and a half now, and him coming to the LCK was something I was supremely excited about, but not in my wildest dreams did I think that not only would he be a Royal Roader, but he would be such a pivotal part of what is such an insanely one-sided game here.
The youngest player to do it outside FLICKR, winning that domestic title. And then, I mean, just how aggressive the team is when he gets ahead, I think is what people don't realize about Paze, is he's not just like this insanely, good farming, 80 carry, plays team fights well, but when he gets ahead, he loves to get super aggressive with his Gale Fort flash usage. You saw that later on in the game, and the fact that Gen.G does feel like they have more lanes that they can win through right now. We'll see if this is something they continue throughout the entire tournament, but at least, domestically, you do not see many Tristana type picks for Doran, and so they kind of are going for like a triple threat angle here, or like Chovy takes the backseat playing more Lissandra and stuff like that. It's really cool to see them all have different ways of stepping up.
And it's something that, and I keep going back to this is what Gen.G used to do with Ruler as well, but Ruler, as good as he was in teamfights, isn't necessarily known for being a player that plays this far forward. Paze, as you saw in this game, very clearly is.
Yeah, when you look at kind of the series overall and your expectations, you would feel that for G2, the bot lane should be something where they can put a little bit more weight into the scale, but that was not the case in Game 2 whatsoever, and Paze completely took over the game. And then you're left wanting, I think, overall, because there doesn't seem to be a pressure point on the map that you can attack.
No, I think, Game 1, you saw some of the counterpick usage of Red Side helping G2 out. They had a good game plan of split map. This time around, it felt more standard in a lot of ways, and you see why that's a very dangerous thing to do against Gen.G, because that's actually more their comfort zone.
Oh no, are we already hearing the just cheese, because otherwise you don't have a chance?
Oh baby, yeah, that's what we're looking at.
You might, right? And what to me is crazy is going into the game, I felt kind of worried for Broken Blade because, again, he was on a blind pick, right? I think Cannon is very strong, but it's not like the champion can't be countered. But the game wasn't even remotely about that because of how insanely out of control the bot lane got, just in the 2v2. So it wasn't like Peanut ganking, which he's done so much on Maokai specifically early on. It was just straight up Delight and Pace taking over.
I like that you call out Peanut because he's someone who, it's so cool to see him continue to find success in international competition. He's been around forever. Last time he won a title internationally was 2017, MSI, way back in the day. And then since then has actually bounced around quite a bit, gone to the LPL, represented them a couple times, and then to come back to the LCK and start finding dominance yet again with back-to-back titles so far, it's just really cool stuff to see.
Absolutely, and this best of 5 may end up being a footnote in their run at MSI, unfortunately for G2. So let's see what has to change. Let's look at the mid lane, because Chovy versus Caps, a matchup we were super excited about. Caps having something to prove after he didn't end the best in the spring split over in the LEC, but we haven't been able to see any of that.
And it's not just Caps. Because of Caps not being able to match, it also means we don't see nearly as much of Yike, right? And I think that Yike playing carries and actually being able to get stuff done around the map, to find the continuous ganks, keep the pressure on the enemy jungler, is what made it so successful. And yeah, this matchup right now is not looking great.
Oh my god, 8-1, 21, 1-12.
There's a lot of things to highlight, but the kill participation one to me is actually the most damning.
Staggering.
Because it feels like Caps is the engine when you're talking about getting Yike off the ground and those two comboing together. He has been locked in lane by Chovy, and you saw multiple attempts going at Chovy this game in the first 5 minutes. The fact that you saw early roams from Mickey, they got the flash out of Chovy, they tried to repeat gank it, and he survived. And it just shows how difficult it is to actually get a lead through mid lane.
And how you know, it's very apparent that throwing a wrench in the works like this is going to disrupt what G2 have found the most success with so far this year in terms of elevating Yike, setting him up for success, Caps getting out of that lane. And I feel like that's something you have to address not just in the context of this best of 5, but for the rest of MSI.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to remember that unlike most of the time when you lose a best of 5 at international competition, you're still alive now. And so there's still things you want to learn, still picks you want to try, things like that going forward throughout the rest of the tournament.
But they haven't lost yet, because I feel like rightfully so, we are praising Gen.G. They do look like they're going to close this out quite comfortably. So paint me a picture then. Do me a favor. Paint me a picture of how G2 picks up this next game.
I do think you go back to game number 1, right? That was the one that actually looks competitive.
They're on blue side. They picked it themselves.
Yeah. Get a better lane matchup. Make sure that you can actually put pace on the back foot. The inevitability of Gen.G, I think, will remain a problem that G2 right now can't solve. You need to win early. You need to find a way. I don't care what crazy magic you pull out of the hat.
But they tried it.
Well, yeah, it didn't work in game 1, but it looked better than game 2.
Okay. No, they tried it game 2 as well.
Well, I mean with Jinx and Fresh, I'm like, maybe
interesting
don't
picks.
risk.
Level 1 invades, lots of burger flips. That's the classic menu we serve at NA that maybe EU wants to try some of those for, for trying to pull an upset off.
Maybe we'll need to. Maybe we'll need to. I think they should. The big question is, can G2 adapt for game 3, or will Gen.G close out the series with a clean sweep and utter domination? Let's get into picks and bans with Medivedi and Azael.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Now, Vedi, I have a small breath of hopium for us.
Yeah, go ahead.
If it takes Gen.G longer than 23 minutes and 24 seconds to win this series, G2 versus TL is still the fastest best of 5 internationally ever.
Oh, nice. Cool.
We're still top dogs.
That is like the most glass half full of all
I've got to find something, right? Because it has been a struggle for G.
That's a dub. You don't. G2 has to find something.
That's true. We'll see what they can do as we get into the draft. They are on blue side. They selected it. And here we go. Vi, Aphelios, Maokai Band, Nautilus, and Draven so far by Gen.G.
I want to see flex picks. It's got to be something surprising if you're going back to blue on G2's side. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't just go back to red and try to do something a little bit crazy with 5th pick, counter pick. But we'll see what the option is going to be. They are banning out the Aphelios. They are banning out the Maokai. So banning out some of the champions that caused them issues last time around.
Okay, so the Kennen first pick again. They're arguing that the Maokai facilitation, the AP option in the jungle, is why the Tristana is even a viable option for them. Of course, there's still the Lissandra. They can still just do the Tristana top. I guess from Broken Blade's perspective, he's like, sure, I got pushed in, but like that matchup wasn't a problem.
No, it wasn't a problem.
It wasn't like he was getting steamrolled in the 1 versus 1. Later on, the Trist was a problem, but like that last game was pretty much all about bot. And the problem you now have is that you've left Cassante open, which we know is one of Gen.G's best picks, and they can flex it between top and mid.
Yeah, they're going to be able to flex that around. It is interesting because it's just like the game didn't get to the point where the Tristana would be a problem, right? The Tristana had push early. Sure, Kennen can have impact in team fights, but the Tristana did hit that point once he had BT and Null Magic where you would never really be able to contest inside. So it's interesting to see them go back to this. I do think G2 are just going to full send it on a team fight-based comp. If you are going to be early picking this, Zyra Khan would make sense.
I was expecting,
yeah, Zyra Khan does make a lot of sense here. You have Engage. You can use that Kennen as a follow-up. It is Nidalee and Cassante on the other side, so a lot of early game power here being grabbed by Peanut and one of the solo laners. We don't know exactly where the Cassante is going to go yet.
You want to make sure they can get an AD carry for Pei is one of his comforts. You look at some of his most played, and Zeri is definitely up there alongside the Aphelios, so it makes a lot of sense. Of course, Peanut has a very long career, and Nidalee, throughout his career, has been one of his go-to champions, so no stranger to that pick. Of course, now the jungle starts being the focus, and the Kha'Zix respect going towards Yike. Of course, Yike has been able to find small advantages in these games, but largely muted because of how problematic the solo lanes have been for G2. We haven't really seen Caps unlocked on the map. Game 1, he got shut down by Chovy. Game 2 was the bot lane that collapsed. So Peanut still wanting to respect the possibility of like, getting a comfort pick and something that he can have agency on that can potentially carry.
I think as much as we talked about Pays being in his rookie year and in his first international tournament, you have to remember Yike's in the same boat. Like, yes, he has won wins. He's had a little bit, a few more games here in 2023, but he is still new to the international stage. And I think we've seen him get early leads and not really know how to translate them. Part of that is Gen.G doing really well at shutting him down, but part of that also could be the fact you are in your first international tournament against one of the best teams, if not the best team in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a lot of pressure going up against these guys, and he's going up against Peanut, who is such a veteran. You know, we talked about it on the desk. He's been around forever. You know, came onto the scene very, very early on. And has really stayed at that top level for a lot of years now across a number of different rosters.
Ooh. Rel, something in Europe we saw a lot from Hylissang. Just a hover right now, of course, but support lock-in would make a lot of sense, and that's what they'll go for. So a little bit more engaged from the side of Delight. Speaking to Chronicler, he was telling me a lot about how that is Delight's preferred play style, those engaged style supports. His Rakan was very impressive when we saw it in the finals, and I'm very confident that his Rel will be just as present as his Blitzcrank was in Game 2.
It's his first Rel of this year as well, though. It does, of course, give you a huge teamfight threat. That Magnet Storm can do a lot of work as you get later into the game and stopping the Ken and getting onto your backline. But as you say, Poppy jungle locked in here for Yike alongside the Annie. That's going to go back to Caps in the mid lane.
Yes, this is really interesting. We have 5th pick counter pick here for Chovy. We want to see exactly what he's going to do. Of course, it could be the Kasante flex mid, but you know, I am interested to see what the answer is going to be. You know, if they wanted to, they could go just on the top again. Sion was actually banned out in the second phase last game. They banned double tanks away from Doran. This would be like very much a Zeri 1v9 style game as far as the damage profile is concerned, but I don't think you're worried about that with how well Paze has been playing. It is going to be the Malphite. This can be a pretty decent matchup into it. You know, I want to see exactly where he's going to take it. I'm expecting Common. I'm expecting, you know, early Catalyst. You can go Abyssal. If he's really not concerned, you can just continue to just kind of build armor and go for Sunfire and stuff like that. But I think you do want to pay some respect, especially given that it's double AP Soul Laners.
Chovy, the original Kasante mid player. Against Annie, I think that you have a lot of safety and security. You can invest in early Merc Treads. You also have the ability to mitigate that stun entirely by utilizing the skill that can't be interrupted. And then you have so much engage, which I think is the biggest difference from G2's position, right? You have the Rel to start fights, you have the Malphite. Regardless, either one can follow up on that initial engage. Kasante, the disruption that he can create in the middle of a team fight, alongside then the range that both Azerion and Italy can provide. You can see how much more well-rounded this composition is, and it gives Gen.G more options as the game progresses outside of just needing to find leads in the early game.
It is interesting to see, you know, how Gen.G just decided to index so heavily into engage against the Xayah, right? Because firstly, that is one of the best marksmen to actually be able to deal with it. So the ultimate is going to be so key for Hans. And can they actually go in with one, force out that ult, and then follow up with the other? You know, it's going to be between Doran and Delight to constantly force out those Xayah's cooldowns to be able to put them in a position where they can burst them down.
Yeah, and it's not only that, it's the fact that if you're engaging, G2 are very much on the back foot in that situation, which gives Paze a lot more time to ramp up on the Zeri, which is what Zeri does so well in these fights.
I will say, Merc Treads are insanely high value for honestly kind of both sides, but even more so for G2, because it's actually a lot of magic damage that comes out of Zeri. You know, it is mixed, but it is 30-40% of the damage is about magic. It is a fair bit on that top side as well. You know, of course, Chovy can do physical damage, but it's not exactly like you're that big powerhouse who's going to be putting out a tremendous amount of physical damage. So we'll see, you know, if Yike can really get to that point with something like a Force of Nature, you know, which could be very difficult to get through.
Betty, do you want my other really small win for EMEA?
I love your small win.
Chovy hasn't died on Kasante in the 3 games he's played it. If we kill him, he hasn't died at all, ever on the Kasante. If we kill him, record breakers.
World first.
World first.
World first.
Race to world first is going on right now. These guys.
He does look like a raid boss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Certainly does.
Obviously, small mercies as you see. The grasp for the Kasante in the mid lane. Caps running first strike once again. G2 trying to work their way down towards this bottom lane. We'll use the sweeper to make sure there's no vision there. But Delight and Paze, it looks like they'll be helping Peanut on this first clip.
I actually like this. This is interesting. So mostly people against this Kennen matchup do go Comet, but the reason you can go Airy here is good Kennens can actually E-start, and as soon as you throw the Q, they E and they go backwards, and your combo will always miss. So you can actually dodge out those Comets very, very effectively. So it's a nice little bit of matchup tech here. You know, Airy obviously guaranteed to connect. Can G2 find an advantage here at level 1?
Looks like they don't want to gamble it.
They got the first minion though, so that's
They did.
It's a dub. We take those. Put them on the board.
Both the junglers starting on the bot side of the map, pathing towards top. I wonder if Yike will actually do a full clear bot side into looking for some opportunity bot lane, but I expect Peanut to mainly just prioritize on himself. Leverage is pushing lanes to try and steal away some camps from Yike. Of course, the steadfast presence, very annoying for champions with the dashes, which there are a decent number of them from Gen.G. This could be one of the biggest difference makers when it comes to the later fights, how Yike can disrupt and disengage some of the very, I would say, linear engage tools that Gen.G have for themselves.
Absolutely. I mean, Poppy is really that X factor. If you can get a great ultimate, you can really change the course of those fights. You can knock someone out, like Chovy, like Peanut, turn that into an odd number fight, potentially can make something happen.
I will say, like, you talked about the Xayah ultimate as well.
Flash away from Pace.
Both
Good
sums.
move from Hansama, as you say, cleanse flash. And for the first time this series, Hansama and Mickey starting to win out that bot 1v1. Yike now looking up, 2v2. Yike looking up towards this top side. Doran does have the flash. You can't really escape. Knocked into the wall. Steadfast presence goes down. They look to burst him. First blood, G2. Yike escapes, but the minions will take him out in the end. He's executed. Peanut coming in from the side as well. The spear goes wide, just clipping the heels of Broken Blade, and the TP invested by Doran.
This is one of the weaknesses of Malphite. It's one of the things you'll always hear from top laners. And Bro, he could look for a Q3 flash if he wants, but not going to go for it. Those take that advantage, but the early levels on Malphite are very, very vulnerable. You can't contest the wave in these kind of matchups, so it's very easy for your opponents to stack. Peanut was not there to actually cover the dive, and they do make it happen. They get first blood onto Broken Blade, who's starting with a cull. It's going to be an XP disadvantage as well there from Doran, who misses some of those minions. Of course, he could TP back and collect the rest.
But Chovy playing the mid lane matchup so well. See how he mitigates the stun, forces caps underneath this tower, and this means that there's no assistance on the blue buff.
Peanut was unspotted.
Peanut
works his way around here. The smite comes down. Yike did get it. Peanut looking for the chase here. Of course, because Yike skipped blue to get that top gank off, Peanut knew he had an opportunity to try and invade and steal that away.
This is very much what we expected from Peanut, leveraging his pushing lanes, knowing that Yike needs to reset. Broken Blade can't assist. Caps has to go back to base. This gives Peanut a window to steal away some of these camps as we see more fighting in the bot lane.
Delight knocked up. Does still have the flash, has the ignite. Hansama puts down the feathers, pulls them back for the root. Delight's going to jump away. The Ferromancer's shield helping him out a little bit as Pei's bone plating is propped. But in the end, the Gen.G bot lane are able to walk away, only mildly scathed. They will be kept away from the wave though.
Well, as we saw in game 1, when Hansama and Mickey did have the stronger 2v2, they were able to find those 2v2 kills. And we're seeing it again here in game 3, where they are really the ones dictating the pace. Pace will be forced back to base, needs to get a little bit of health back and spend some of that money. But Peanut has found a window to look for something bot lane. I don't think they're going to force anything though, given that wave is pretty big. Peanut just going to instead look to steal away some of these camps.
Yeah, we can see this one more time. Doran's still only level 2. Not really a lot you can do to outplay here. You can try to early flash away from the wall, but honestly, I don't even think it really makes a difference there. And Yike, unfortunately, didn't pick up his passive shield. That's actually what killed him. He missed the passive shield walking out there, so the minions do finish him off. You can see he realized his error, tried to run back to it, but just a slight misstep on how he passed out there, he should have survived. And that did put him pretty behind, because you can see Peanut, it's actually up at least 3 camps now.
Admittedly, but if he chooses to flash there, he's probably pretty aware that Peanut's hovering around the top side of the map, so he may have even conceded a kill. But dying to the turret, obviously while not ideal, I think in a weird way ended up working out in his favor, even though he does end up losing a couple of camps as a result.
Wave not in the best of places for a G2 dive as of yet. That cannon wave pushing in means that Yike will just get the control ward on the Krugs, and now Peanut's going to try and answer. He'll be spotted as he starts up his rock buddies.
But Yike was spotted as well. You can see the question marks from Gen.G, so they know he's around. Peanut moves up top, is going to cover, and this is more time, again, spent by Yike. He goes up, he tries to threaten that dive. Now he's going to be spotted around mid. He has no camps on top side, right? He's actually falling quite behind where Peanut is. Peanut has 3 camps up plus bot scuttle right now. He took away the bot side Krugs. There's nothing for Yike to do. And because of this, it's really easy for Gen.G to just play safe and just respect the fact that these ganks could come in. Keep your wards down. Don't give any advantages because they are running away with that jungle matchup.
Chovy going to use this window to get a bit of deep vision. We'll drop it on Yike's Raptors. He's actually moving into the fog of war. G2 should be aware of this. But Hansama and Mickey continuing to get the push. The wave is in a very awkward spot where they really could do with a bit of cover, but Yike, in terms of his pathing, not ideal, as you already mentioned, Azael. That jungle matchup very quickly snowballing in favor of Peanut, as Yike hasn't gotten farm for a while now. and Peanut going to tick over to level 6.
And you can see Peanut, even going in, taking this scuttle away first. He wants to move in potentially for the Raptors respawn, and not going to do it just yet, so we'll retreat back towards his blue buff. But he is prioritizing any contested camps before that of his own, moves into his opponent's jungle, takes away a camp, and when there's nothing aggressive to do, then he goes back to his side of the map and farms it up. And this is the way you want to play when you are playing these carnivore-style junglers that have got to be in the face of your opponent. You know you have the early advantage, and he's making the most of it, nearly doubling the camps taken of his opponent.
Almost 6 camps ahead as he gets over that 57 CS mark. It is his 4th most played of all time as well. 54 games on the Nidalee, and even though I think these days wouldn't see Peanut too much as a Nidalee player, more of a utility shot caller for the team, he can still bring it out in games like this as the dash comes out from FaZe. He escapes with the cleanse, manages to survive, but Hansama and Mickey didn't even burn anything to get that pressure down. The zombie ward will spot Peanut. Hansama continues to step up, has that Feather Storm, and FaZe and Delight will just disengage.
Hansama ticking over to level 6 is likely the reason why Gen.G didn't want to commit to any action, even though Peanut was there. Of course, the ultimate is so powerful in these early skirmishes. Hansama very close to a plate, and now Yike covering around the bot side of the map. The problem that G2 have...
They want to dive.
Well, the thing is, you look at mid lane and you can see Chovy continues to push Caps underneath the tower. The fact that Caps can't get out on the map, and the fact that Chovy's even able to secure himself a plate, makes it much harder for G2 to invest in any early dive, and for the time being, G2 are just going to have to be happy with the 2v2 advantages that they're finding for themselves.
I mean, it's really good. They're up 500 gold down on that bottom side. They do have a 600 gold lead overall in the game, so this is, by far the best position I feel like G2 have been in. They created some slight advantages in the first game, but that was with like a full-on early game comp where you're like, you have to be way ahead. They have good scaling in this composition. They could absolutely win 5v5s if they can execute. So I think this is the best showing we've seen from G2 so far.
I'd agree with you there. They also have comfort. Like Mickey is on this Rakan, well known for it in Europe, and we know that he can have impact as the game goes on. For the moment, though, Rift Herald was secured by Peanut. Yike looked for something up towards the top side, but once again, Gen.G, their vision control is always in the right place at the right time. It's not superfluous. They don't invest too much vision in a place. They just have a singular ward here and there to spot anyone out. Unstoppable Force used by Doran to get away, but he's going to sack a bit of this wave. You can see Delight and Peanut have moved up together here to try and protect Doran underneath this tower.
Yeah, I love the early defensive ult there from Doran. We'll see if they can make anything happen.
Early. There's the knock-up with the Q3 back into the all-out, pulls Mickey all the way out. The quickness used by Mickey to escape. Chovy dashes back forward with the flash Caps, low on mana. Q3 once again hits Mickey. The Tibbers for the stun though, and Mickey sneaks his way away.
Oh, what a kill there from G2, but on the top side, Broken Blade, no ult, no flash. You are dead, sir.
No way for him to get out of this one. Tries to put the damage back down onto Doran, but Peanut will swipe him away.
I mean, Chovy played that so well. You could tell, though, he was feeling himself. He wanted more. He didn't want to just get away. Wanted to chase him for that kill. And Cap still had the Tippers available. And when you are in that all-out and the ulti is still available, you can get burst down. You're going to be so squishy at that point.
Peanut now making his way into mid, though. Looks like he's not going to convert this into much.
Yike just flashes the wall. Doran takes the tower. Doran's going to execute. Doran's going to execute. The ward in the bush means that Doran does not fall. He gets the execution as our screens pause for a second.
Yeah. We can look at the in-game spectator client.
We're back. We're back.
Oh, or are we?
Perhaps not. Yep. Doran's just, Chovy's just pushing in the mid lane as Caps is getting caught. Meanwhile, in the bottom side of the map, Hansama and Mickey doing what they can. Another plate will go over to the Gen.G mid laner. Honors even in terms of gold, as Peanut and Delight are going to team up here to secure the first dragon of the game. G2 are walking their way across, maybe looking for a contest. Yike is being kept at bay by Chovy, though, and Delight and Peanut giving a bit of respect here, but Mickey and Hansama having none of it. They're in a bit of a sticky situation. If they keep pressing forward, they'll do it. And because Broken Blade also TP'd into the mid lane, G2 actually gained control of the dragon.
Yeah, this should be theirs for sure. Yike is here now. Doran's up towards topside, so he might lose a plate or two topside, but they are going to be able to grab this dragon for themselves, which is very, very nice. Trying to establish something from that bot lane control that they have. They have the better buy here on Hans. They've been consistently forcing out the cooldowns from FaZe. Mickey and Hans really having a great game in this one in that 2v2. So are going to be able to keep it close in gold. They have a dragon. We're in a very even game state. we have to say, Chovy has just been doing very well in this lane, in this 1v1, constantly keeping the push going on this Andy, using his Demolish non-stop. Almost has his third plate proc, and that's all solo. He's been proccing that Demolish over and over and over. Has done about 1,000 damage already to the tower with it.
Chovy not taking the tower, it's just to clear out the wave. We'll be able to back away. We did get Chovy's first ever death on the Cassandra. True. So G2 winning in some ways. And also, it would be 11 minutes from here, Gen.G winning for the fastest ever best of 5. We'll keep track of that.
I think we're safe.
We'll see. You never know with G2 and with how Gen.G have been playing. Chovy going forward, looking for the Intopo strikes. Cap's able to dodge to the side of it. The Rift held, put down in the mid lane. Yeet it, Yike! Woo! All the way back to the tier 2. As Yike helicopters it away from the battle for now. Mickey's coming across. Of course, the Rift held will work her way back towards this turret and still get the charge in. So really, just delaying the inevitable here by G2. Shelly charges, the turret plates fall, and only one tower plate remains in the mid lane.
So when we kind of take stock of the game, Gen.G still have a healthy advantage. The top lane matchup slowly starting to swing in favor of Doran as Peanut now threatened to dive.
Broken Blade, no flash, and the spear hits. And Peanut, hungrily looking for it, chucks another spear into the back of Broken Blade and sends him to the fountain.
Yeah, Doran just used the ult aggressively there to try to get that chunk, put him really, really low, didn't actually need to wait till he's under the tower, gets him low, and not being able to dodge it on that spear meant it was lights out here as Peanut's now going to be wrapping around mid on Caps.
So much speed from Peanut through this jungle, constantly putting pressure on, goes top, comes mid, a turret secured in the mid lane as well, all 5 tower plates over to Gen.G, and even though G2 did have a solid start in this game, it's Gen.G who are wresting control out of their hands with the all out as Chovy dives forward, the flash away from Caps to keep himself alive.
It's just crazy how ruthless Peanut is being on the map right now. He has just such a great awareness of what he can and cannot do. And you think about the amount of pressure that Gen.G are exploiting across the board. That gold was dead even a second ago, and now it's ballooned into a 2k gold gap. And a lot of this stems from the fact that earlier in top lane, Broken Blade committed a flash to try and find a pick onto Doran, who only committed his ultimate to escape. And off the back of that flash, Peanut was able to find a top lane kill, a couple of picks, a number of tower plates, and now the game is very quickly snowballing out of control. 9 turret plates in favor of Gen.G to the 3 of G2, even though G2 have had bot lane, well, have had control, I would say, throughout the laning phase. Look at the advantages that have been gained compared to what Gen.G have gotten elsewhere on the map.
That said, it is still just, under 2k gold lead here, so it's not insurmountable by any means. G2 do have that early dragon. We'll see if they want to continue pushing towards that. The entire gold lead really is just Peanut, right? So, Nidalee doesn't always translate her leads as well as some of the other junglers. Yike, yes, he is behind, but you do have so much utility on this Poppy. If you can have a really good W, interrupt someone on a dash, knock someone out of the fight, it's definitely winnable.
Flash, knock up into the wall with a cleanse, jump away. Well played by Pays, escapes the gank.
Incredible reaction time there from Pays. Doesn't flash, reacts calmly, just pops the cleanse into the E over the wall, and is able to get away to safety. Yike, of course, did commit the flash, and now Delight using this window to get a lot of deep vision on the top side of the map. And this is one of the big advantages of unlocking that mid tier 1 and helping Doran get through what was a rough laning phase. He's now in a very healthy spot, consistently trading well into Broken Blade, and he's going to be able to secure another tower for Gen.G.
Yeah, and didn't feel like he needed to actually itemize for the matchup at all. He did go for Mercs, but he's just going straight into Sunfire. Nothing like an Abyssal. And we'll see, G2 moving up towards this top side. Looks like they want to challenge for the Herald. Chovy's staying down on bot. He does have his TP available, so we'll see if Gen.G want to fight this, or if they're content to just give it over and try to farm some damage on that bot side turret.
I think it's across the board right now. Only Yike.
There you go.
Have it. The TP used, as you say. Peanut looking for the chase. Hans Summer and Mickey there to back up their jungler. Rift-Held will reset. Caps and Broken Blade can come across as well. In the end, Gen.G invest the teleport. G2 get out. Delight waiting in an unwarded bush. G2 can fight this, but I don't think they want to. Broken Blade's gone back to the top lane. Mickey just standing close by. Toku strikes will hit onto Yike, but in the end, the Rift-Held actually just running out of patience a little bit as it was chasing Doran across, but Gen.G should secure it. Next fight will be around the dragon, you have to feel, in 4 seconds' time. say 4,000 gold lead for Gen.G though, as they continue to extend their advantage.
I mean, Gen.G have the luxury of being able to just drop the Herald in mid now, create this extra point of pressure, force G2 out of the river, and as spectators to the objective, they have no real control around the bot side. It's Gen.G that continue to dictate the pace of the game.
No deep wards as well for G2, so Brokenblade has to TP to the mid lane tower. Mickey going in, but Brokenblade is not here yet. Caps on the flank though, Delight getting locked up. Caps trying to get in with the tippers. Brokenblade flashes forward with the slicing master, but he can't get onto Pace. Peanut is low, Chovy will fall. Dorwin down towards the bottom side will kill off Mickey. Peanut so low though, and Yikes able to take him out as well. In the end, a 3-for-1 in favor of G2.
Looks like actually only two end up dying on the side of Gen.G. But Delight, as you rightly said, able to get away with his life just barely. And the Herald, though, securing the mid-tier 2. Gen.G still hold on to a 3k gold lead. G2 may be able to, or they will be able to secure the Dragon for themselves. But the TP now comes in from Doran.
Doran doesn't have ultimate. He's just going to face tank them. FaZe, of course, can come in with that lightning crash. Could stack up the overcharge. Brokenblade's going to keep him at bay, and although the Dragon will walk its way back to the pit with Caps coming across, you have to feel like Gen.G will give up the ghost on this one. Caps looks for the stun onto Doran. He's down to half HP. Hans Summer puts the feathers down, doesn't yet pull them out, and it seems like G2 will now decide to disengage.
Yeah, nicely done there by G2. I think going to be sad that it is a Chemtech Soul, unfortunately for them. But they do have that 2 Dragon advantage. They are down a bit of gold here, but it is not insurmountable by any means. And again, when you take that Nidalee into consideration, I actually think they're in a pretty solid spot here. Hans having a good game and who never was able to even force out that ult from him. Mickey trying to go here, but it didn't feel like it was really that well coordinated with the team. You know, preemptive play, like if you look at actually where Caps is over here. You can see that Brokenblade hasn't even arrived yet. It was so early. I think he really wanted to try to go before the Herald crashed to try to defend that tier 2, but it just wasn't well organized with the team. They are able to finally chase down and get this kill on Peanut.
Yeah, I would definitely say a very messy fight. The fact that G2 walked away with what they did was definitely an advantage for them, but so much of the map now is still in control of Gen.G. They're doing such a great job of maintaining vision in the river and just making it very difficult for G2 to find any sort of flank. They're like taking a lot of damage, but they should be able to get away to safety. And right now, it's just about Gen.G returning onto the map. You expect them to primarily play towards this bot tower. It's the last neutral objective, really outer tower for them to play for. Brokenblade in a bit of danger right now. Yike is on his way.
That's the blast cone. Slicing Maelstrom used. There's the stun. They're looking to lock up Chovy. He dashes away, but the stun connects again. And G2 get a kill in the top lane.
Great kill on the top side. Yike moves up there, and it's the anti-timing with the all-out from Chovy as he puts himself low right as Yike blast cones over the wall.
He's scored as well. There's the charm. No cleanse. He used it in the last play in mid, but the lightning rush will come out, and G2 start to retreat. They see Peanut waiting in the wings, and they decide they don't want a piece of that action right now. But Paze does have to burn the ultimate to escape.
You've also got to say, by far the best position for Caps so far in this series. He has 2 kills. As
double move! Delight's alone, the Powermancy. Yike's going to come in from the side as well. Delight is falling. Pace locked into the wall. And there's the knock-up with a helicopter as well. Pace dives in, but the feathers fly. Mickey picks up a double.
Huge kills there from G2. Getting another couple back. They're now down only 1.5k here. G2 showing signs of life in this series. You know, really battling back strong here. It's such a bounce back game from Hans and Mickey, and I cannot overstate how impressed I am from that. To get demolished like they did in the last game and to not just roll over or die in the series, to come back and just fight straight up, picking his Rakan, laning really well, getting pressure, forcing out those sums from Pace constantly in lane, and now showing up for these 5v5s.
I mean, Peanut's gone deep here. There's a blast code for Brokenblade, but you can't get away from the steadfast presence. He's stunned up, he's locked up, he was looking to stop the recalls, and his heartbeat is stopped.
Hang on a second, that's a dead jungler. G2, it looks like they're not going to run the risk. I was considering a Baron option. The reality is that Gen.G are making a number of mistakes right now, and this game is very quickly shifting in the momentum of G2. Like, of course, the gold difference is still in Gen.G's favor, but when we look at the gold, as I was highlighting earlier, all of the advantage is sitting on this Nidalee, and it can be difficult to convert those advantages into victories for a team. And Chovy, you said that he hadn't died on this champion. 3 deaths now in this game.
Only died on this champion this game.
Like, it's very uncharacteristic. I think that Chovy has been very overconfident in some of the skirmishes that he's been trying to make happen. And Yike, very present this game. He has been involved in 7 of the team's 8 kills. But let's see if G2 can maintain this momentum as Chovy has had another fight.
Peanut's on his way, the slicing mouse was being used. You can see Yike trying to distract Delight and Pace down towards the bottom side, but Broken Blade has definitely overstayed in the top lane. Peanut will take him out, he'll shut him down. Yike was able to walk away, the TP invested as well by Caps to make sure his jungler could get to safety.
And we talk about oversteps, now we see G2 making the same kind of mistake. An easy collapse from Gen.G in the top side. Of course, Doran did commit the teleport to create this flank happening, but when other members were like resetting on the map, oh, hang on, they are actually just going to start this one off.
This is like the T1 special. They've had this done to them. Now they're going to try to look to do it in their turn.
Oh, great steadfast presence into the copter, knocks the light away, but Yike is still in the midst of 3 members of Gen.G. They're going to try and chase him down. Caps trying to keep them at bay. Mickey fighting Chovy up towards the top side as Hansama keeps that battle continuing. Seismic Shard into the spear, but Yike dodges to the side. The red buff, the Molten Shield, the steadfast presence. The flash in the end will get enough, but Gen.G have invested so much into trying to kill the Poppy, and G2 pounce.
The rookie from Europe comes up clutch. He dances Gen.G into death as they punish the overextension, and G2 finally come alive in this series.
What an overforce by Gen.G. I mean, they look for the flash engage from Delight onto Yike. He easily pops the W, interrupts that, then Doran full whiff on the Malphite ult. They're just going to go straight to this Baron. It is warded, but can they even do anything about it? I don't think so.
I've seen Gen.G get out of trickier spots in the past. Mickey jumps across the wall, as you say, vision on it. Chovy not spotted yet, has that all out, has the flash. Seen on a ward as he comes around the corner. Broken Blade, Mickey and Hansama. It looks like this is just going to be G2 securing the Baron. The Dragon available to them if they can get down there in time.
Gen.G pinging the Dragon. They've acknowledged that they can't secure this. Yike back out on the map first. The Baron has been secured for G2. Yike needs to be so careful now. He is isolated.
It's so good. Almost blast cones Yike back into the entirety of Gen.G. And I don't think Yike would have been able to slip his way away from that situation.
Yeah, I mean, Gen.G going to get a Dragon back, and of course, because of the class of this team and because of how the series has gone, you're still going to be nervous. You're still going to think Gen.G could battle back. But I got to say, if you have nameplates off, you give this to G2's side like 90-10 with the compositions, with the Dragon lead, with the Baron buff. They're in such a good spot. Great rejection there. Then the sidestep.
Oh my word, yeah.
Doran just didn't expect it. Full whiff there with the ulti. The laser doesn't even tag him from Paze. I just can't believe they continued chasing into the tower.
They were like, we just need one more hit.
This is insanity to me. They're all going for it. Peanut flashes in, gets stunned up again. Then Caps arrive. Doran has to flash in. They're trying to look for a dive, but that is not going to work. Malphite too tanky.
Wow. Huge props to Yike. You talked last game about Paze making his debut on the international stage. Yike, I don't think he had a bad game 1 or game 2, but game 3 is really where we're feeling his presence. G2 will unlock another tower on the map as Caps goes to answer Chovy in a side lane. Let's see if G2 can use this Baron to really do some damage to the structures of Gen.G. They have been commanding in this series, and as you rightly said, Azael, until you see G2 knocking on the Nexus, you're always going to believe that Gen.G can find a way back into this game. But right now, G2 are looking good.
I just don't know how Nidalee actually plays the game in 5v5s. I think it's incredibly difficult. You know, when there's so much CC and AoE damage on the other side. Peanut caught again.
But this, you start at the damage shot, double force across the wall, and there's the Magnet Storm as well. Slicing Maelstrom has been used, but Peanut pulls the stopwatch. Mickey down already. Paze takes 1, that's 2. And Gen.G just ripped through the heart of G2.
It's just overextension after overextension on both sides, and Han's now in a lot of trouble here. He does have the Ghost, he does have the ulti. And we'll be able to walk it out, but Chovy's coming.
Chovy has the all-out. Hansama can flash the wall to try and get away. Dodges the spear, but Delight's looking for more. Feather Storm. Hansama will escape one more. Oh, no! Not quite enough with the deadly plumage to kill off Delight.
And you have to question what the game plan was there for G2, even if they want to force that. It was so disjointed. You had Yike and Mickey engaging the fight, to then Broken Blade come in after. He also invested the flash, and that Baron power play was a 1.5k gold advantage. They then threw that away and gave Gen.G a very clear avenue back into this game.
I mean, it's one of those things where you can just see, you know, that where The excitement of the moment is really getting them. They see that they can catch Peanut out, but look where your carries are. They're not even close. You know, Broken Blade is still a mile away. Hans is not even close to arriving. You know, it's one of those things you've got to be on the same page. This did happen to them around that mid lane where Mickey went a little bit early there too. This time it was Yike going in. It's Mickey trying to follow up, but you need to have the damage there. You cannot give Gen.G ways back into this series. You cannot give them ways back into this game.
It does feel like G2 are making some very nerve-wracking plays.
There's no damage, again.
Well, they have
Jovi, they're just trying to keep him, CC'd for as long as possible. There's the quickness as well. Hans Summer now joins. Another knockup goes out. The all-out used across the wall as Jovi tries to retreat. Hans Summer looking for the route, but can't quite find it. And in the end, Jovi able to walk out of the gank from G2.
I mean, the good news for G2 is there's not really much on the map for Gen.G to cross-map with. G2 have to be careful about overextending in the top side. Caps can be left isolated here. You'll notice Gen.G pushing in that mid-wave. I think Peanut just stole away the Raptor camps once more. But overall, it was just an opportunity for G2. They tried to punish Chovy. It only really cost him his ultimate.
Yeah, he gets a couple ults off the enemy team, gets the Ignite off Mickey, does spend the ult of his own. He is getting very, very tanky. He has that Force of Nature now, is working towards what is very likely Gargoyle Stoneplate, and that is where it gets so hard to actually take this guy down, because he can get in the middle of the team, get that massive shield to keep him alive. So we'll see what G2 want to do next. I'd like to see them continue setting up around these neutral objectives, looking to play around those dragons. You have such an advantage playing around those neutrals with Yike, but it's going to be Chovy just TPing to safety.
Gets him out. There's the counter TP as G2 look to collapse down towards this bottom side. Gen.G nowhere near close enough to react. The steadfast presence coming out as well. Pathmaker held, dodges away from the knockup, but still gets stunned, and Chovy will fall. Gen.G now looking to pincer in, but they retreat as soon as they realize their mid laner has gone down.
That was 5 bot for Chovy there. He goes down, and because he died, the dragon, he's not going to be there at the dragon spawn. He's not going to have TP as well because he spent that, so G2 going to be able to get this bot push, threaten this tier 2. They're going to potentially threaten a dive.
G2 still have all of their ultimates as well. They didn't invest any of those into killing Chovy. The tier 2 in the bot lane will fall. Gen.G can still rely on Paze. He is even on gold with Hans Summer, basically, but they're retreating. They don't think they can defend without their mid laner. Peanut was doing the razor beaks. And now with 11 seconds up on the next Drake of the game, it would be soul point for G2, as you said earlier, Azael. It's only a Chem Soul, not the most powerful, but still something you want.
The biggest thing that G2 have to be concerned about right now is that Baron spawns in 30 seconds. Committing to this dragon means that how much are you going to give up on the map in exchange? And if Gen.G can just force a couple backs or get a good trade hit, a Baron is on the cards.
Dragon taken. Broken Blade looking for that blast cone. You get so far with those mega cones. Gen.G retreating for the moment. Yike in the pit can flash the wall. They know where Broken Blade is. He's marked by Chovy now. Caps looking for the flank position as well. He's not on vision. Flash away from the unstoppable force. G2 now disengage.
But soul point for G2. Going to be feeling really good about that. Yike poking and prodding here. It's the ulti from Doran to actually force that flash, so that is a fine trade, but it's soul point for G2. They're still in the lead as far as gold advantage, and they're still in the lead, I think, as far as composition, and Doran has no ult to escape.
Yike's going to knock him into the wall. Hans Summer's going to try and shred through him. The last whisper already complete, and look, Doran already down, but the Gargoyles caging for the moment. Caps getting onto the backline, the cleanse away from Paze. He dashes across the wall, but Broken Blade is looking to lock him down, and Paze is out of the fight. The Magnet Storm perfect, but the Feather Storm equally so. A double for Hans Summer, and G2 breathe life into Europe.
G2 are going off in this third game, battling back in such a massive way here. Hans deathless, Caps deathless. The G2 carries have come alive and are now pushing in the base. They'll claim their first inhibitor of the series here, looking to be in prime position to take a game off of Gen.G.
G2, while it hasn't been the cleanest of games, have very well bought themselves enough time to stay alive in this series.
Peanut's just going to die. The hammer's come down. Broken Blade looking for the Shook, and Peanut with a great dodge away.
They can't overstay now. They need to back because Baron is up and alive, and the rest of the Gen.G members are respawning. The only good news for G2 is Peanut has to reset himself. Let's look back at this fight and just create awareness here from G2. They realized that some of the members of Gen.G have gone back to base. The ultimate already used from the Malphite meant that G2 could get this collapse. And look, he buys so much time, but the rest of Gen.G can't really respond. Caps tunnels onto Paze, forcing him out of the fight. And with Paze gone, there's just not enough damage.
Absolutely, and Broken Blade having that TP coming in, was already over the wall. Where Paze goes, he gets the wraparound, finishes him off. And when we were talking about it in the draft, I pointed out, this is basically like a one damage source team over on Gen.G. When you're getting to the later stages, it's really all about Paze, which did not seem like a concern at the time because of how well he'd been playing. But he has been put down. He is behind Hansama, and he is not at that point where he can really just completely 1v9 a game. He just is not doing the damage to knock through these frontliners fast.
The biggest differences we've seen is that Paze is being controlled and Chovy isn't dominating the matchup.
Unstoppable force. Hansama has the Feather Storm. They're going in with the Magnet Storm as well. Hansama able to retreat from it. Delight knocked away from the team, but the lightning crashes into the slicing Maelstrom. Doran already down. Chovy trying to distract the rest of G2. The feathers are pulled back, and Chovy will kill off Hansama now.
He's now.
A 4v3 as Paze begins to open up, and he's locked up. He's stunned up. He's shut down by G2. Delight dashes across the wall. Yike continues to chase him away.
The team fights are just too difficult for Gen.G to play. The damage is relentless, and the combination of Broken Blade and Yike creates so much chaos for Gen.G.
They want to end. They're going
G2 win, and they're looking to end the game.
Can G2 do it without their AD carry? The inhibitor still down for the next 3 minutes, but Chovy's up in 20, Paze is up in 28, Doran's up soon as well. Delight and Peanut are going to try and keep the wave, but with Tibbers pushing in and the super minions doing so as well. G2 begin to open up on the Nexus towers. Delight will fall down towards the bottom side. Peanut relegated to his fountain. And in their moment, oh so dark, G2 find a glimpse of light at the end of the tunnel. But instead, Gen.G want to shut that light down as Chovy goes forward. Mickey looking for the Nexus. G2, what a way to end it.
G2 will not be stomped in this series. They will ignite the fans here in London, and the confidence can start to come back.
Yeah, G2 coming alive in this series, and so is the London crowd here. Loving the fact that G2 are able to bounce back after that second game. They were decimated, and it felt like, just looking at their faces, we were talking, it looked like they were dejected, looked like they were potentially out of this. But I have got to give so much credit to the G2 bot lane. To me, this game was really so much about them, about their ability to actually be in this great spot, to constantly force summoners out of Paze, to keep Paze back, who was that kind of Soul Win condition, have such a stable lane. Hans only died one time in this entire game, and that was after everyone is getting wiped on the other side.
I mean, for me, it was Yike. Like, his impact in the fights was incredible. For the young rookie to have such presence in so many of the picks and the plays, I thought was instrumental, and I hope that we can continue to see his impact in the game.
And especially since he was really far behind. He was like half CS, level 4 to the level 6, coming out from Peanut. Very, thankfully, not the quickest best of 5 ever anymore as G2 pick up a win, so we continue along with our series. Of course, the loser of this does go into a loser's bracket, a lower bracket, so even if G2 do end up losing this series, they will not be knocked out of MSI.
And what I will say is that when we still look at how the map was played, this was Gen.G making uncharacteristic mistakes, right? They got picked a lot. They still had the gold lead for the majority of this game. While a lot of that did sit on Peanut, G2 couldn't really convert that. And like, they didn't really build an early game lead, And so while I think that this was a big game and a much needed win, obviously, for G2, it's still a long road to walk.
Yeah, it really is. We're going to hand it over to the analyst desk to break down that game. Shocks, I know you're excited. Come on, Shocks.
Okay, I'm kind of excited that they won. Okay.
Get excited. You be excited about that one.
I'm trying to be objective, and I am. But did you know, this is good. This is nice. This series is more interesting than it would have been. And I gotta say, we gotta give G2 their flowers specifically for this game. Simultaneously, though, also criticizing Gen.G, which I know you're prepped and primed for.
Oh yeah, that was not a good game from Gen.G. And yeah, you just had a sub 20-minute game, but you gotta respect G2. There's a reason why this org is such high regard, and a lot of the plays that they went for, maybe not.
We'll criticize Gen.G in a little bit, but first I just want to highlight the comeback because they showed the goal differences. It looked exactly kind of like Game 1 and Game 2 where it just starts tailing in Gen.G's favor, but then G2 was finding angles to punish the over-aggression out of Gen.G and clawed their way back to win this game. I thought, if G2 was going to win a game, it would be some burger flips level 1 that you run away with. The fact it was a mid-game comeback was really, really cool to see.
keeping your cool in terms of the game and fighting back. We'll take a look at a couple of those fights. And I think when we look at those first fights, do you feel that it was as much sometimes Gen.G overstepping as they did later in the game? Because I do feel that at some points there were just opportunities found as well. And G2, when they got a small advantage, they did try to push it.
What's the really big difference to me, and what I think, those mistakes in mid-game, right, that Gen.G overchasing a bunch of times, that you can point that on them. But if you look at G2, the way that Broken Blade, I think, specifically played out team fights was really, really big. When you're playing something like Zeri, if you don't get checked in a team fight, you can take over. This is something that Gen.G have been able to do. And as you point out, like, picks like this, I think G2 was continuously keeping Gen.G behind on tempo, and they never got to set up and get the fight that they were looking for.
Yeah, I really liked how they attacked Chovy in the side lane over and over again. They have a very easy to execute composition with just tons of engaged threats and the single big backline damage dealer in Hans, and they did such a good job of pretty much always buying space for him and annihilating people as they tried to come in. It was really good stuff to see. You can see that Gen.G was hungry for kills, and they just kept kind of face planting into this easy to execute team comp on the side of G2.
It was funny because Maurits, you were saying like, oh, Peanut in Italy, that's something that we actually haven't seen in years. Doesn't play carries anymore, and now it's going to be...
Yeah, back to Maokai. Maokai duty. Yeah, and it's like partially, I think that Pina going back to Italy, it's a fun throwback, but it's not even his play specifically. I think the team functions around him being a shot caller, around him being a facilitator, and if he's not that, then I think the puzzle very quickly falls apart, and I think Chovy struggles also kind of tied into that.
Absolutely, and every second counts, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, Yike dodges all the skill shots and survives long enough for G2 to secure 3 kills and a Baron. And this is, though, where you can also say Gen.G at the tail end of this. What are you doing? He
just played this so well, though, blocking the Rel engage, sidestepping the Malphite ult, then knocking the Rel out for any potential CC, so there's basically none left, and it's just damage chasing him down, and then continues to find dodges on the spears, the wall, hugging it all the way, buying time for Caps to get in range to then stun multiple members up underneath the turret. And this was the overchase that allowed G2 to grab the Baron.
And I think the whole time that I was watching that sequence, I was thinking, wait, but the stun's going to be up. Throw the Baron, stun them all. And then they just overchase and he can do it.
And they did, right? And it starts off iconically. Doran's Malphite domestically has not necessarily been his best champion.
Okay.
And I didn't catch it the first time we saw that replay, but that started off with him not hitting. And if he hits that ultimate, right, it's a completely different game. And he didn't. And that's kind of the thing you need to do on Malphite.
Generally, though, when you look at the games as they've played out after that, great victory in Game 1 from the side of Gen.G, they are making some choices when it comes to draft. They are being very confident in those choices. They are showing things they haven't shown before. And then in game, they also are doing those things. So do you feel we're going to get a big pullback coming into this Game 4?
Yeah, and we're going back to tried and true for Gen.G.
Okay.
I think they really went way too far with both their draft and their in-game decisions. You were not very happy with the Rel. I wasn't particularly excited about the Malphite into Cannon. It's not like you're playing into a full AD comp, and I expect them to go back to more tried and true compositions for them.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, you did just give G2 a lot of momentum, a lot of confidence, because after that Game 2, I think everyone was like, all right, when's, fastest time ever? And I think the crowd deserves some credit because they were starting G2 chants even before Game 3 started.
That's true.
It wasn't like they were silent. I saw some memes about the library, and I was like, no. They were still cheering well before the comeback came in.
The G2 army is always there, so I guess they're making a lot of noise, but I saw a lot of Gen.G fans as well, so they're going to want their team to clean it up. I want to check in with the bot lane matchup overall because we have the rookie in FaZe up versus Hans. FaZe, who had a Game 2 that was one for the history books, was really, really insane. But overall, when we look through the lens of these 3 games, what do you think?
This is one of those times where averages are kind of BS because the average from Game 2 was like plus 5,000 gold, and it just totally destroys what has actually been a relatively back and forth series between them. The Draven game for Hans was a lot better. This time around it was pretty even, but they were still forcing some flashes 2v2 with the Xayah Rakan lane. So this is not indicative necessarily.
So what do you think? Because, you don't want to rely on the numbers. Tell us what you think. That's what we want to know.
I think
Stop reading stats.
I think Game 4 is going to go back to a little bit more FaZe favor. I do think this matchup was a bit of a flex, like we were kind of talking about, just slamming the Rel there despite giving over one of the strongest bot lanes in the current meta in Xayah Rakan. So I still have a lot of faith in FaZe, but it's not like Mickey and Hans have done a very good job in lane phase as being the most consistent place that's winning on the map for G2, and I really want to see them continue to invest in that.
Yeah, going into Game 3 as well, I talked about I really want to see a better matchup because even in Game 1 we saw something that Gen.G is good at domestically as well, even if bot lane falls behind. They're really good on getting pace back on item parity, right? Because even though he died twice to Draven, he was only like, I think, 1k gold behind because of all the global gold that Gen.G was getting. And in this game, he actually didn't get to have an impact because of how well G2 played the mid game. So without those kills in the mid game being picked up, you saw pace jumped in, but didn't have the resources.
Yeah, there's a couple of trends there that we also saw in the LCK generally in the losing games. It's pace that is not able to do that well, but generally Gen.G is able to stay in the games that they are losing or in a losing state quite well. And I think there goes the credit to G2 where they put the pedal to the metal when they needed it to because they didn't want to let them come back in. I was scared. I was like, this Baron, that's throwable.
I'm chilling. This is an easy 3-2 G2 angle. Choky showing up on international stages.
Calm down.
Yeah, this is easy. I've seen this plenty of times.
Have you?
Yeah. When? G2 comebacks.
Yeah.
Chovy, well, when?
Versus Griffin.
Tell me. Yeah. Griffin, that was a 3-0. That was 4 years ago. Get out of here.
We're kidding. A couple of team fights we see again from that third game. You know, we got to hang on to what we got. But I do think we're memeing a lot, but the momentum thing is right. You know, that confidence was probably at an all-time low from G2. Gen.G is now looking, they're not on the back foot, luckily. They're still on a match point, so they do have enough time to rectify what they need to.
Also going back to blue side, I presume, just given the fact that we've seen the prevalence of how good power pick can be, the Kennen early, I think was huge for Broken Blade. This game's probably not going to be going to his hands in this next matchup, so there'll have to be a new strategy for G2 on red side.
I don't know, actually. I might leave Cannon up again, but then not counter it with Malphite, which...
That's the other option.
Is that a counter? I don't know. Because I do think, as I mentioned previously, Broken Blade's impact in the team fights meant that Gen.G, who sometimes can get like those really clutch moments, was never able to because Paze was either dead or had to back out of a Cannon ultimate.
Yeah, you can't do much then. So G2, they take the first step towards a possible reverse sweep, but Gen.G back on the blue side are looking to close out the series. We'll be right back with Game 4.
A definite reverse sweep. Where's the confidence?
Go! Yes. Can't really escape. Knocked into the wall. Steadfast presence goes down. They look to burst in first blood. G2. Yike! Escapes. But
A big kill him or? No, I think so.
I'm running though, I'm running.
Yeah, nice. Nice.
Run here, I'll give it to Red here, but look at top, I think. Guys, look top.
Yeah. I can get
There, good job. They went so deep, okay? Oh my god, this is so good. Oh my god, you're smart.
Let's go.
getting onto the backline, the cleanse away from Baze, he dashes across the wall, but Broken Blade is looking to lock him down, and Paze is out of the fight. The Magnus Sword perfect for the Featherstorm, equally so, a double for Han Summer, and G2 breathe life into Europe.